stand up for G. Big fucking G, baby. Big fucking G. Everybody in the chat, stand up for big fucking G. Playoff G is real, baby. Playoff G is real.
He is a huge part of why the Yankees are where they are, and he is the reason why they've had success in the postseason since he's been a Yankee. But let's all dismiss all of that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I am here with Donald, and back with us is Rubino. Rubino, it is good to see you back in the chair with us. Glad that everything worked out well for you in Florida. But you have you've had a couple of days where you've been absent on the chat, so I want to kind of hand you the floor for a while so we can get your takes that we're so anxiously waiting on. But before we get into that, hit that like button, hit that sub button, and share this out with everybody that could be watching. Thank you to everybody on Twitter, on YouTube, everybody listening on SportsWire Radio. So now that all the pleasantries are out of the way, let's get into more pleasant chatter with Rob.
You still want to bench Giancarlo Stanton? You still want to DFA Giancarlo Stanton? You still want to cut him next year and eat $98 million? Still want to do all that? I'm asking if anybody that's out there that still wants to do that. Now that that's out of the way, Giancarlo fucking Stanton is the man. And thank God he continues to prove us right. Because we've been defending this man for 4 years now. And he showed up. He showed up when everyone wanted him gone. Oh, he doesn't run that hard. He stole a base just to shut you people up. He deserves to be benched. For what? For hitting? For being the only guy to drive in a run in Game 2 before Jazz hit that home run? Go ahead and bench him. Take your best bat out of the lineup because it fits your narrative. Giancarlo Stanton is the absolute man in October, and thank God we still have him. Thank God we didn't listen to some of these idiot Twitter GMs that want him gone simply so they can fit a prospect in there. Anyway, what a series. The Yankees fought through a tough team. Let's give the Royals credit. They are a good team. But my goodness, did our bullpen show up. Did Clay Holmes show up? I mean, where did that come from?
Yep.
It's just, it was great to see them overcome some of the issues that we thought they had going into the series, because first base was an issue. It didn't look like it, though, because Cabrera and Birdie played really well. The bullpen was fantastic. And I don't know how we're phonies, the real Yankee. We've been defending Stanton this entire time. So I don't know who's a phony here, but if you want to come on that nonsense, then please, by all means, show us the receipts. And we'll show you the receipts. Anyway, the Yankees are advancing to the ALCS. Let's keep the good times going because I don't know who we're playing, but if it's Detroit or if it's Cleveland, it's going to be difficult. They're good teams. So we got to keep that fight going, the same fight we had these 4 games against Kansas City. Keep the fight going against those whatever team we're playing, because it will not be easy.
Yeah, I think when you get down to it, it was contributions from players, and this is usually what happens in the postseason. You're getting contributions from players that were not on the top of your list of this is the guy that needs to show up. They pretty much took Judge out of the equation, but there were other players that were highly, that were high contribution factors. We were all worried about what was going to happen with first base. And like you said, Rob, between Cabrera and Birdie, it was almost like he wasn't, you almost forgot that he was there, and he was mentoring these guys, coaching them along. So you didn't, the presence of Rizzo was still in effect on making sure that Cabrera and Birdie were prepared for first base. Also with the bullpen, we were all nervous with Holmes with the high leverage situations. The dude showed up. Weaver thrown into a closer role, having no earned runs allowed through the series. I think he had 15 innings, no earned runs. So it's, since being put into that closer spot. So he's been fine. Everything fell into place the way it was supposed to. And it all ties together with Stanton being postseason Stanton. It's not a myth. It's a reality. Stan is the fire in everything. The one thing that I do hope going into the next series, I got to see more from fucking Jazz. all talk, no bat. He really put him. He's got to step up a little bit.
Agreed, but
So
we need to address something here. We need to address something. Who is this dude trying to stand on his business? What business have you got saying that we're phonies, man? Give me the evidence. I want you to go through our Twitter history and find a negative Stanton tweet. I want
He's
you to
the
find
real Yankee, so he's the real Yankee.
fucking luck. Good real talk. Real talk my ass. Real talk. We've actually been one of the channels that actually supports this guy.
I mean, we've since he's been here, we've had his back. That's why this isn't something that we're pulling out of our ass. That, oh my god, I can't believe Stanton. No, Stanton is always been the guy for us. So I do like they said, pull the receipts, because we have our own. So I'm not worried about that. But that's I don't know where that's coming
How
from.
about best OPS? I think it's like the fourth best OPS in the playoffs in Yankee history, behind Reggie Jackson.
When you're in when your numbers are in comparison to Ruth, who didn't have all these layers of the playoffs to go through, and was able to do these things in one series, one, it just shows the monstrous effect of a Babe Ruth. But that is special company, and Stanton's in that now, and he's been that. He's been that, when it comes to the postseason. He's been that Matt Silly. He's been the 09 A-Rod. He's been Reggie. He's been all of the legends. And Stanton is right there with him when the games matter the most. He's going to figure it out. They were interviewing Cabrera on the radio after the game, and one of the things they were saying is when they traveled to KC, the first thing he did was like 2:00 in the afternoon, way before anybody was supposed to be reporting. He's at the field taking batting practice, trying to get a feel for how the ball's going to carry at the stadium. This dude puts the work in.
He does.
Is he absent a lot in the regular season? Absolutely. You can't deny that. He's had issues staying healthy. He's not going to be Usain Bolt running the bases. We understand that. His job is to just make hard contact with the ball, and that's what he does. And he makes it look easy. He makes it look like he's a check swing can go for a home run. The way it looks like he swings the bat. Stanton's been the guy. And anybody that was saying that they shouldn't have him on the roster just doesn't know what they're talking about. It's because they're looking in the moment. They're not looking big picture. It was all about making sure Stanton was healthy for the postseason. That's how you navigate. So I don't want to hear it.
I was sick of it because there was too many people, too many Yankee Twitter GMs, as Rob points out, when Stanton obviously struggled to run in the opening couple of games with run, got to cut him, we got to do this, he's an embarrassment, this is a fucking disgrace. The only dude that actually hit in the series. Honestly, it was like, all right, you want to talk about sprint speed? How about his bat speed? That's more fucking important, right? Yeah. That's what I'm worried about, his bat speed. And his bat speed is still ridiculous. Absolutely elite. He was mashing out there. I mean, case in point, yesterday, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, he was squared up on it and lined it for an RBI. That's what Big G does. So, yeah. Oh, and he also stole the base. Yeah. So all those Twitter GMs had a rough time, and there's people from like Barstool, like prominent accounts. Also Yankee fan Earl. Yeah, I got your receipts, bro. Oh, bench him. He sucks. He fucking sucks. He's gonna go for 4. Well, yeah, well, he didn't, did he?
No, it's that I don't understand this. I don't understand the Stanton hate. I never did. We never did. It just never made sense. We were the ones that kept screaming. A year or two ago, stop using him as a sole DH. Put him in the field. Because you got to keep the guy loose. But what do we know? We're just we're a stupid Yankee fan. We're Stanton stands, but he's the one that's coming through every year. So
It just shows that you need to have one moment or one series that can propel you to get the hate off of you, because they wanted Stanton gone throughout the year. And again, I know he gets hurt a lot, and if he brings it up, he doesn't run well, so we don't need to see him in the outfield. These are all very good criticisms of a player because he gets injured a lot, and he doesn't run. He is a liability on the base paths, and he'd be an absolute liability in the field. However, we all talk about October. Every single Yankee fan will be like, what do you do in the playoffs? That's what matters. And he's showing up. He showed up every game. He was the reason we won 2 nights ago, and he was a huge part of the reason we won last night. So what more do you want out of the guy? I'm not saying resurrect a statue of him or put a plaque in Monument Park for the guy, but when it comes to October, the dude shows out. And that's what we need. We need more of that from other players. We need Aaron Judge to do that. Hopefully that double he hit last night can get him going in the LCS, because we need it. If Aaron Judge is playing at his level, we're not going to lose a lot of baseball games, especially with Stanton hitting the way he's hitting. But we need other players to step up too. So it just, again, anything can happen in the month of October. Anything can happen in the playoffs. A guy that's struggling can have Anthony Volpe had a great series at the plate. Defensively, not so much. He had a really good series at the plate. So it just goes to show you that anything can happen in the playoffs. And that's why you need to erase the regular season. When that's why the stats get wiped out. Didn't matter that Judge hit 58 or 59, whatever the number was. Didn't matter that he hit 62 the other year. It only matters what you do when it matters most. So Giancarlo Stanton, for all his deficiencies, shows up when it matters most. And hopefully we can continue this run with him hitting hot and get some other guys going, because we're going to be a much better team because of it.
Yep. I don't know what we did to upset everybody. A couple of people in the chat. I'm not. It's not the day for that. All right, the Yankees are advancing to the ALCS. We're all excited. We're all hyped up, and there was a lot of as much as some of the games. The games were frustrating. At some points, the games were just flat out boring. But the Yankees pulled it off. They get the win. They get past Kansas City, and now they get to look forward, and they get to now wait and see if they're going to be playing either Cleveland or Detroit. And my personal take, I'm not picking one team or the other. I'm sticking to it. But I mean, that's been one hell of a series as well. I mean, this has been it's been a hard-fought postseason, and there's no clear-cut path to any type of success. It's good, there's no team in this by accident at all. So let's just switch gears. Let's all enjoy it, because the Yankees have handled their business, whether it was with one player or the whole team, because it is a team effort. It's a team game. So let's just celebrate that the Yankees have actually handled their business.
Salute to Alex, the Big Blue in the Bronx. Remember to sub to his channel. Had fun calling the last 2 games with Alex and his brother Luca. It was good fun.
I'm Carlos Stanton. If you're going to call us phonies and call out our show, at least spell the fucking people's name right. That's all I'm asking. You're going to make 2 accounts and you're going to subscribe to us to call us clowns? You have to you have to be subscribed to comment, buddy.
Keep it up.
Keep it up.
Go for it.
I could be tough behind this camera, but you could be tough behind a keyboard, my friend. But at least spell the names right. I'm Carlos Stanton. Fucking clown. Let's continue with the positive of this series.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the main positive. How about Cole's outing last night?
Oh God.
They said it easy early on the broadcast. You could just see that, and if you go back and you watch the first game he pitched to last night, that was probably the most accurate, response to Cole from the broadcast, that he was taking his time. He wasn't rushing. He was bringing his mental game and all his pitching knowledge into that outing last night. And that's what paid big dividends. And going deep into the game was also a key factor, because they weren't figuring him out. They probably could have even kept going, because his pitch count really wasn't that bad. But he got through 7. They handed it to the pen. That's been extremely trustworthy. And here we are, successful again. And it all starts with Cole. he was the one that had to create the narrative where they had to push and they had to kind of scrap across a couple of runs, or a couple of hits to score a run. And they were not easy to come by the way Cole was dominant yesterday.
Cole was absolutely dominant, man. That he shoved. It was one of his best outings as a Yankee in the playoffs. He was dominant. He was every bit as dominant as the numbers suggest. He mixed his pitches perfectly. He located his fastball pinpoint. He was painting the corners. His slinker was moving. His knuckle curve was pinpoint. His fastball was touching 98 to 99 at one point. Remarkable.
Yeah, Cole was phenomenal, man. Like, because he wasn't that good in the first game, and then he came out when we needed him to. The Yankees treated yesterday, or Alex Verdugo said, like an elimination game. They didn't want to go to Game 5, and Garrett Cole pitched like it. And we needed that performance from the ace. That was an ace-like performance, because the first game certainly wasn't. He didn't look good. And yesterday, that all got erased because he shut them down. And I think taking him out after 7 was perfectly fine. He did his job, like NFE said. So, and the bullpen's been so good that you kind of trust these guys now. It's crazy how we kind of can we trust Clay Holmes in the playoffs now, because his playoff numbers have actually been really good, and his 2024 is almost identical to 2022 when it comes to he's pitching lights out. Then he struggles for like 3 months. Yeah, he's the man now. And then in the playoffs, he figures it out. I don't get it. And I'm glad we probably won't have to deal with it next year, but it's very strange how he goes from looking great to looking like the worst pitcher in baseball to now all of a sudden he's figured it out. But each time it took them to take him out of that closer role for him to figure it out. So,
another thing about Garrett Cole was he was changing the eye line of the batters constantly. There was a lot of times where he would paint the corners low and then go high and have them dial it up to like 98 mile-an-hour fastballs up outside the zone, and they were swinging at it because he was changing the eye lines. He was changing the trajectories of his pitches. He was just mixing his pitches perfectly. And what I noticed was he was in complete command of everything he did, and he looked so comfortable doing it. It just felt like he was completely at ease in the moment. It was like, this is my time. I'm going to deliver. And the best thing the Yankees could have done was given him an early lead, give him a 1-run lead, and that was more than enough for Garrett Cole because he just shoved after that. I can't think. There was only 2 times where he missed location of his pitches, and all that happened was just a single. That's how good he was. He was just an absolute beast out there. It was one of his best playoff outings as a Yankee. I don't think there's any question about that. Maybe even the best, considering the gravity of the moment. And what was also huge was because we didn't get any length from our previous starters. So this was huge for Garrett Cole, that he was in such command that he was only taken out on 80-odd pitches. He easily could have gone another inning if he wanted to. So that's how good he was. That's a really good comparison, Pizza. It did look Greg Maddux-like. He was changing the eye line. He was changing speeds, mixing speeds. He was going on a knuckle curve at times. But he was only a couple times used the knuckle curve. He was really focusing on the fastballs and the sinkers inside. And he was just dominant. It was a really impressive performance to watch.
it was ace. That's what we asked for. And yeah, Ken, you're right. Isbell did tag a pitch, but he only gave up a couple of hard hit balls. And again, for 7 innings, to only have a couple of at-bats that were hard hit, I'm taking that. Because that's what you want out of. If you were to tell me Garrett Cole's going to go 7 innings of 1-run ball in a clinching game of a playoff series, you're like, yeah, sign me up. Sign me up for that. You're not going to be like, oh, 1 run? What a bum. Let him walk after this year. Like, no, you're going to say, sign me the fuck up for that. So, yeah, Garrett Cole did his job, and the bullpen did its job. So, and I don't know if he'll be pitching game 1, because wouldn't game 1 be on Monday? I don't know if he's got enough.
He would be game 2 now.
Right. I think it's Rodon, right? Rodon game 1?
Rodon would get game 1, and Cole would get game 2. But, hey, we need Rodon to do what Cole did. Wasn't the greatest in his first start, but Rodon overall was okay. But we need Rodon to bounce back like Cole did, and we'll have a really good chance at beating whoever we're playing. But man, Jared would. Yeah, Garcia talked a little bit on Twitter, and then he got sunned by Anthony Volpe. So I don't know if he could be talking anymore. My guy Volpe just said, "Get out of here." The little
Yeah,
Anthony,
my respect for Volpe raised 10% just on that alone by him just shooting him off, going, yeah, you get out of here. You get out of here.
little Anthony Volpe, that little chicken
Yeah.
parm eating Italian bastard, just said, "Get out of here." I love. That's my shortstop, man. I'm gonna defend that kid. But hey, that was pretty awesome.
I love that Garrett Cole was like a silent shark. Do you see he was kind of going around? He was just kind of basically chasing him off the infield mound by just looking at him. And
No, I'll tell you now, that's a dad face. That is you kids knock it the fuck off or I'm going to smack the both of you. You know, so that was that look. I've given that look.
Garcia ran off the mound like a little bitch.
So, no, it's – and let's also credit the fourth outfielder last night because the wind was a big factor on as well because there were a couple of balls that were tattooed.
Legit.
But the way that Cole was just very meticulous and methodical, I'm sure he took that into account in his pitch selection as well. So, the fly balls were not going to carry. They were going to get pushed in. So we also got to credit the fourth outfielder with the wind because I know that there was that one, I think it was in the seventh, where it was like, I'm like, oh, fuck.
I thought that was
I was like, that's a no doubter. Any other day.
It was, yeah. Go very lucky there.
Oh, the wind took away a couple of hits from, I think, Judge.
From us as well, yeah.
Yeah, Judge was, in Game 3, Judge was seeing the ball pretty well. And I thought he was going to have one go over the wall eventually, but it just wasn't happening. And that's why I'm a little bit encouraged with his at-bats from Games 3 and 4 that he can have a good Game 1 of the LCS because he was seeing the ball a lot better. Outside of that double play in the first, that was a horrible at-bat, but every other at-bat was better. He drew the walk, that double, which led to a run, thankfully from Big G, of course. But I'm hoping that these last two games get Judge going because if he can perform at a higher level, one, we get a better chance to win a baseball game and win a series. And two, it can erase this playoff disappearance or whatever people want to talk about because he wasn't good. Overall, it was not a good series. He did not perform up to expectations for an MVP. He needs to be better. Let's call it what it is. But hopefully these last two games get him going because guess what? Soto's seeing the ball well. Torres has come through in a couple of spots already. If we get Judge going with Stanton behind him and maybe they shift the lineup a little bit because Wells does not look good, that's a threat. And now we need other guys to step up too, like Jazz. And we know that first base is actually giving us some decent at-bats.
Yeah, Mr. Barros, I don't know about that. The bench clearing incident depleted the Royals. They were done after that. No, because it was after that is when they rallied. They put a couple hits together. And they had a little spark to put that run across. And then Cole was pretty much like, you know what? All right, let's refocus. They had that mound visit, and it was back to game on. And, Cole had a lot more concentration.
That bench clearing incident was such a nothing burger. It was like the Royals created it just so they could be pissed at something because they were getting outplayed.
Whatever it takes to get a spark, I can't blame them for that.
Yeah, because they were getting outplayed at home, really. The Yankees are legitimately a far better team on the road than they are at home because they didn't play very well at Yankee Stadium. And but they went to Kansas City and shut Patrick Mahomes up, who was dancing around and acting like a real jerk. He was silenced as well. So it was pretty nice to see the Yankees stand on business. That's what it was about. And the Yankees didn't even play that well until the final game. I thought the best game that the Yankees played the entire series was that final game. It was the bats were better. Still, it wasn't a breakout. We scored 3 runs, but the at-bats were better. And the pitching was marvelous, unbelievable. The bullpen was ridiculous. And Garrett Cole absolutely was just shoved, as they say. He absolutely shoved out there. That was the cleanest the Yankees played. It was cleanest the Yankees played defensively as well in the final game. So I guess if you want to look at it, the Yankees didn't play very well for the first couple of games of the series. And in fact, you could maybe even argue they didn't even play well until the final game of that series. Yet they won 3 out of 4.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost like that the Fast and the Furious quote. Whether you win by an inch or a mile, a win is a win.
That's right.
And it's not the best phrase to use with sports because maybe if you're showing a lot of deficiencies and still coming out on top, sometimes it's only a matter of time before the floor falls. But
Let's ask the
after the
panel
Yankees,
about what
it didn't
Alex
fall
thinks
for the
here.
Yankees. They were able to pull it together and get the win.
Let's go ask the panel and the fans in the chat what Alex thinks here. Birdie over Cabrera for game one. I'd take Stroman on the ALCS roster over Duke Ellis. I agree on both counts. I don't really see the point having Duke Ellis on the roster. I prefer the extra arm. And Birdie over Cabrera for game one is something that's worth discussing. What do you guys think?
It would depend on the matchup.
True.
Like if we're playing Scooble, you probably go Birdie. I guess.
No, we won't see Scrooble game one because he's going to have to pitch the defining game in game five.
He's got to pitch game 5. Thank God. I don't
So
want to see
that's why Cleveland did us a favor by pushing it to a 1-game series.
I don't want to see him at all. Like I would prefer. I mean, I don't want to have. It's like I prefer one team, but I would rather avoid Scooble at all costs. That dude is so filthy. Yeah, I guess it depends on who we're going against. If it's Cleveland, I don't know who they would pitch game one, but I mean, either or they both have looked fine, which is crazy because I didn't think that'd be the case. I thought we'd be severely missing Rizzo's glove. Mm-hmm. Those two have been really good. Birdie, I think it was brought up earlier in the chat. I can't remember who said it, but it looks like he's been playing there his entire career.
Yeah,
and
really good.
We have him under contract for next year, so we have another first base option potentially that isn't Anthony Rizzo or DJ LeMahieu. So, I mean, hey, if we can have 2 full utility guys on this bench, that's a good thing. And I think you just go by the matchup. And I think, look, I want to give Aaron Boone some credit. He had a fantastic series. I can't find one thing that I'm like picking apart about him. That might have been, it probably is his best managed playoff series since he's been here.
Oh, easily.
I could agree with that.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Even some of the question marks, when in game 2, putting Birdie in at first, benching Cabrera, even putting Birdie in yesterday after Cabrera in game 3 with the 3 walks. It just seems like everything he touched worked. I think he managed the pitching extremely well. The lineup, he didn't try to get too cute with the lineup. Yeah, that's probably. I think you hit the nail on the head, Rob. That was probably his best managed series.
Let's talk Birdie because I really like him. I think he's really underrated. And you know what I like about him is he's actually a contact hitter. And that's actually a good thing to have in the playoffs. Bottom of the order, a nice contact hitter. He's got a very quick swing. You know what I mean? It's an efficient, quick swing, decent contact guy. He's got speed, and he's incredibly versatile. I think that's the kind of thing that you want in a lineup, especially in the playoffs, and especially for a Yankee team, which has struggled to make contact all series long, apart from Big G and a little bit of Soto and Torres. It's really been about the pitching out of the bullpen, but Birdie changed things up a little bit. I mean, to be so calm at first base despite never playing there in your professional career is something else. You look very comfortable there. And I just liked his quick swing. His at-bats were all fine. Now, he didn't get a hit in every at-bat, but his swing quality was very good. And he got a couple of nice hits in there. He just looked very good. I like him. I actually would play him. I'd play him more. If I was to choose between the two, I'd maybe play him a little more than Ozzie. But no disrespect to Ozzie. I really like Ozzie. Ozzie was good too.
I'm not. I said it before. I thought that, and we talked about the question mark of first base coming into the series, and I think that after the second game where we saw we saw Cabrera in game 1 play a legitimate first base. Birdie in game 2 looked phenomenal. He looked like an all-star. He had a phenomenal game. So I think that kind of took the pressure off of us fans of having to worry about how they were going to pull this off. It was like, all right, we can exhale on the infield. It was just a matter of really, the arm from third and short, and not having them have to make too many scoops. Because even with the speed of the Royals, we were able to eliminate that factor with some solid defensive play, especially the one that went into the Jazz's breadbasket there on that. We got to take a step back. I
Listen,
thought he
Nate.
was. I thought he was going to beat the run out, but man, he's got some freaking arm to be able to throw it to first. And
Oh man, that was a fucking electric throw.
but that's also comes with trust in your first baseman. So they have trust in each other to look. I'm going to throw it. You're going to catch it. It's a basic baseball, and they have the trust in each other that they're going to be able to make these plays. That makes you a dangerous team because it's not about just putting the runs up; it's also about preventing them. So, I think that they actually
Agreed.
gave us a little more confidence going forward.
Tats, why don't you say hello to everybody in the chat, and then we'll get into my awards.
Yes. So, what's going on, everybody in the chat? I want to say good morning to Sean. You got Nathaniel Isaac, Anna Marie, Nosebleed, Egyptian Magician. We got NFE from the Strike Zone. Make sure you go and subscribe to his channel. We got Cold Italian Pizza. What's going on, fella? We got Lou, Stephen B, Jared Williams. We got Ken, FJ. This is a crowded building. We got Mr. Barrows, as always, hanging out with us this morning. Sean Browning, Gregory Wayne, Acevedo's in the building. Medina, what's going on, Medina? Big Blue in the Bronx. We appreciate you working with us the other day, and I know Donald had a good time on your play-by-play yesterday. And we also got Spencer in the building as well. What's going on, Spencer? We got John the Beagle Dad. Glad that you are okay. If there's anything that you need, just shoot me a message and we'll talk. And I believe that rounds out today's roll call.
Well, let's get to Donald's awards. We've got a lot to break down. Let's go. Let's go. Bring back the awards. We've not had the awards in a little while, so I thought we should bring it back for the end of the series. A lot of breakdown. Let's go with the MVP. I don't think there's too much of a discussion, but we're always open to ideas. So everyone in the chat, get your ideas down. My MVP is Mr. G right here. Captain Clutch. I mean, D-Force was ridiculous. The whole series, man. He was just an absolute machine. And he even stole a base just to shut up the haters. There was nothing that he didn't do to help us win a series, man. Like, I just really love that he stands on business. I love his approach. I love that he is not afraid of the moment. And there's plenty of guys with very successful Hall of Fame careers that are afraid of the moment. But Stanton isn't afraid of the moment. He actually embraces the moment. And there's double the pressure on him, triple the pressure on him, considering that every single at bat, people are looking to lynch him. So he needs to be absolutely phenomenal all the time, or people are coming after him. Like it's really unfair that there's some narrative out there that he's not a good player. He actually had a really good regular season. His numbers were terrific. And he's carrying it straight on in the playoffs. People need to respect Big G out there. Yep. Put down the pitchforks and respect this guy. This guy's pretty special. We're very lucky to have him. My MVP, Big G. Let's go with Uncle Taz.
Yeah. Before my MVP, I apologize to Jonathan. I did miss him in the roll call. Jonathan, what's going on? I should have known that you were here. You're always the first one to arrive. But no, it's no doubt it's Big G. There's no way around it. It's almost like that's the guy you're expecting to be your MVP every series when it comes to the postseason. And he came out and he delivered.
Rob.
Giancarlo Stanton. There's some good conversation to be had about Weaver being the MVP, but Stanton was coming through left and right, basically all 4 games. So, Big G.
Absolutely. My low-key MVP, though, is Weaver. That's my freaking closer, bro. That's my closer. What I love about Luke Weaver is he's very unassuming. He looks very comfortable in the 9th inning. He just all he does is just deliver pinpoint 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, and goes home. That's it. He doesn't. There's no frills, no fucking around. Ninth inning, he's so comfortable there, and he just mows it down. And he was just like, he was so excited. He was like screaming and shit like that. He was amazing. And that's the thing, man. I mean, what can you say? Because for all of Brian Cashman's absolutely disastrous pitching acquisitions, where he's spent a lot of money and gave up a lot of prospects for some really bad arms, Luke Weaver has been a steal. Luke Weaver has been an absolute steal. I mean, he was brought in to maybe sixth starter, maybe be a middle reliever, and he's just got so good and so good, so good that he became a setup man, and now he's a freaking closer, and he's an amazing closer too. So he's my low key. Go Rob.
Yeah, I can't figure out anybody else. I mean, the entire bullpen could potentially get this award, but there's a pitching award for that. But if there was one guy that stood out above the rest, it was Luke Weaver. He was fantastic, and that's exactly what you want in the playoffs. Is a guy that can lock it down whenever he's needed. He was going an inning in the third, or whether he's getting a 5-out save or a 3-out save or pitching one for one batter. He got everybody out. He was fantastic. So Luke Weaver, low-key MVP.
Tats.
Mine, I'm going Weaver with a different award. I'm actually giving my low key to Cabrera and Birdie. I thought their defense at first base was completely, unexpected. We knew they could play it, but at a playoff level, kind of tag teaming together throughout the games, I thought they did a phenomenal job making sure they were prepared. So from the defensive point of view, I'm going with Cabrera and Birdie at first base for the low key.
All right, let's go with the Clutch Award. This shouldn't take too long. Rob.
I'm good. I know this one could be easy for Stanton, but Alex Verdugo won us that game in Game 1. I want to give him a bit of a shout out because he wasn't very good at all, except for Game 1. But Game 1, he had the go-ahead hit, and if not for that, we're talking about a Game 5 right now. So I want to give a little love to Alex Verdugo. I don't know if he's, again, that doesn't mean I want to see him play every day, but I want to give him a shout out. That was a huge hit.
Uncle T.
No, my clutch, I'm actually going with Holmes. I thought he had a phenomenal series. He was not affected at all by being stripped of the closer role. He just kind of took the ball and says, okay, if this is what the team's asking me to do, I'm going to be effective at it. So I thought Holmes really kind of, showed maturity, and he was also effective at the same point. So I'm going with Holmes.
I want to give a shout out to Gleyber Torres. He had some huge at-bats, and he was awesome from the leadoff spot, but has to be Big G for me. He was the definition of clutch. Whenever we needed him, he came through. So Big G is my clutch award and my MVP. Let's go with the pitching award. I will start. I'm giving it to another G, Garrett Cole. Let's go with Rob.
I'm going with the whole bullpen. I know I gave Weaver the low key, but the bullpen, we kept some very big names out of the equation. Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, guys that we were all worried about kicking our ass, they were a non-factor. So shout out to the bullpen. They did their jobs because game 1 and 2 weren't great in terms of length, and we needed the bullpen to keep us in those games, and they did their job. So I want to give a shout out because that was one of my concerns going into this postseason was the bullpen. I didn't know what the bridge to Weaver was going to be, and I think we figured it out. So shout out to that bullpen. They were fantastic.
They were amazing. What was statistics? Was it 14 innings, 0 runs given up in the series? Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Uncle Taz.
Yeah, this is where I'm giving it to Weaver. It could easily be Cole as well. It could be Rodon because he didn't embarrass himself. But Weaver, just like with Holmes, they were given a new role and they were dominant in it. So I wanted to make sure that I gave each of them their own kind of shout out. But Weaver, If they needed more than 3 outs, he was ready to go. So Weaver is my pitching award.
Agreed. Really good awards so far. I think everyone's takes have been spot on. Let's go with Aaron Boone. Out of 10. Let's start with Rob.
I'm giving him a 10. I think he had a great series. I questioned the decision to go with a learn on the go first baseman in game 2, but then again, Cabrera's kind of a learn on the go first baseman as well. Everything he touched worked, kind of turned to gold. And I can't find anything that I really would say, wow, that cost us that game, or that could have cost us that game. Every bullpen move seemed to be good, seemed to work out. Even bringing in Clay Holmes, it worked out. I can't find a fault in that series from him. I said it was his best series he's had since coming over here in the playoffs, and I'm giving him a 10 for it.
Fair. Uncle Tats.
No, it's a 10. Like we said before, it was probably his best managed postseason game since he's been the manager. He didn't make any wrong move. He didn't make any bad decisions that put the series in jeopardy. He was focused, and if I just wish we saw more of that from him, but we saw it in the LDS, and it paid dividends as we're advancing. So he's got to get a 10.
I'm giving him a 9. So I guess it evens out as a 10 altogether from the panel. No question about it. It was his best managed series. His bullpen was flawless, and his decisions as to first base did all the stuff in the world. He did a good job. He did a good job. He kept everybody focused, and that was key too. The fact that we went on the road and actually played better than we did at home, I mean, says a lot about what's going on in the locker room. So things are trending upwards for the ALCS. So I got to give him props for it. Can't really complain about anything he did. We're all smart and it all worked. So 9 out of 10 for me. Let's go with the L. Wait, a couple of L's to get out. Let's go with Rob.
If he didn't come through with that double and scoring that key run last night, I was going to give it to Judge. But Bob Costas had one of the worst called series. TBS was so unbelievably bad for 4 games that I considered hitting myself in the ear enough to where I lost hearing for a few days. If they could mention George Brett, you could offer Bob Costas $1 million to not talk about George Brett, and he would say, wow, you could buy a lot of pine tar with $1 million. Speaking of which, did you remember what happened with George Brett? It would be he was so insufferable. I can't listen to him anymore. I don't think he's got the ALCS. Thank God. It's listening to him and that TBS broadcast, the fact that they missed the run scoring double by Stanton. They were just showing Stanton jogging to second instead of showing Soto's score. It was awful. TBS in general, but the fact that the guy who's taken the Hicks Award for me called him a freaking god of broadcasting. My God, that was so brutal. That was awful. Thank God he's not calling the LCS.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll have plenty to talk about Bob Costas in a minute. So that's Uncle Tats.
No, my L's going to Jazz. You can't keep running your mouth and then being quiet at the plate. I'm sorry. You have to do better. We all thought that you were going to be, the wild card of the Yankees' success, and you've been very absent with the bat, not the glove, but with the bat. So for somebody with such a big mouth to have such a little impact with the bat, that to me, that's an L.
Yeah. So my L is exactly the same as Tats. I'm giving it to Jazz Chisholm. I was going to give it to Aaron Judge, but then Aaron Judge kind of came through. He made some nice plays in center field, but more importantly, his at-bats were much better yesterday. I can't really complain about any of Aaron Judge's at-bats, but I can complain about Jazz Chisholm's at-bats. And the reason is I think that he's put a target on his back. He put his target on his back in that Royals series, which he didn't need to do. There was no need to do it. He just kept talking. He couldn't stop talking. And that's become a bit of a liability. He just kept freaking talking, whether it's social media, whether it was interviews. He just kept talking. And all it did was it became a distraction. And then the Royals sort of started like talking back, and then it was just became a thing. A, act like you've been there before, and B, do your talking on the field. You can do all your talking after you win the series, right? That's when you do your talking. You don't do it before it because you put a target on your back. And to be honest, it actually had a negative impact on Jazz Chisholm's at bats because soon Jazz completely forgot the strike zone and then he started golfing. Every at bat, he started golfing. I don't know if you guys were noticing it, but he was literally golfing every single at bat. He was doing a 180-degree spin, and it was looking like he was trying to hit a sand wedge. That's what it was like. I don't know how he completely lost his mechanics at the plate, but he did. He was golfing everything. He lost his strike zone, and I think a lot of it was in his head because he was talking too much and he was trying to justify it. I know he hit the home run, but he almost negated the home run by acting the fool, rounding the bases again. Act like you've been there before. The Yankees were going to lose. Shut your mouth. Get on with it. So he ended up getting the L for me. But I will say his defense is phenomenal. His arm is a machine. It's like a quarterback's arm. His arm is like a freaking quarterback's arm. It's crazy. He just absolutely throws. He throws just bullets out there. So he's good. He's really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Jazz Chisholm, but we need Aaron Boone to rein him in a little bit. I hope that Aaron Boone takes him aside these next couple of days and just says, "Bro, can we just do the talking off the field after the series, please? Just don't distract it. Don't become a distraction for this locker room. We're all focused on one thing. I get you're excited. We're all excited. We love you here, man, but you just need to just cool the jets a little bit because you're becoming a distraction. And that's what I don't want to see. So I'm giving it to Jazz Chisholm. But there are other candidates there. I thought that Aaron Judge had a terrible series up until the final game. And you could make the argument that Wells had a poor series too offensively.
Call on him.
But what he did do is he called a hell of a game. He called a phenomenal game, especially yesterday with Garrett Cole. So that he kind of gets a mulligan for me for that. And Volpe's defense was bad, but offensively he was great. So for me, it was Jazz Chisholm. Let's go with the Aaron Hicks Award, and let's start with Rob.
Michael K. He's really pissing me off. Like every time he opens his mouth, it's like he's upset he can't call any more games, so he's got to try to put himself in the conversation. First, he attacks Yankee fans, calling them fake because they're enjoying what the Mets are doing. Look, I'm not rooting for the Mets by any means. I don't care what the Mets do. But what they're doing right now is fun. It's good for the sport. It's enjoyable baseball. And I, as a fan of the sport, I respect the hell out of what they're doing. Does it mean I want to see them win the World Series if the Yankees don't go there? Absolutely the fuck not. But what they're doing right now is impressive. And you got to tip your cap to impressive baseball, especially at a time like this. They probably shouldn't be doing what they're doing. They're snatching victory from the jaws of defeat almost nightly now. That's impressive. Michael K. wants to attack that and say, oh, it's all kumbaya between Yankees and Mets fans because, no, it's not. We're just showing a little bit of respect. I would assume Mets fans would do the same if we were doing that. I know a lot of really cool Mets fans through the SportsWire network. They've all been really cool with us. So, look, this is not kumbaya. This is not the city of New York banding together as one. And if we met in the World Series and say, have a good game. No, we'd be at each other's throats. So we're respecting good baseball. And then, was it yesterday, he's calling out the fans again for attacking the god of broadcasting and Bob Costas. Let's just call it what it is. Costas had a terrible series. The catch by Volpe that he said was a base hit, he was bad. The final out, there was zero emotion. Absolutely zero emotion. He was giving more props to the Royals than the team that actually won. Look, the Royals are a good team. They had a great season, but a team just won and went to the ALCS, and you're talking more about the team that lost. It was a terrible series for the guy, and he's been bad for a long time. Maybe back in the day he was good, but Michael K., again, he's just going on these tirades on his show, and even when, and you know what he also did when Don was trying to give him like a counterpoint, Michael K's just on his phone,
Yeah, completely
barely paying attention, ignoring him. So coming off like an asshole, and yet you want to call people out and tell people to grow up when you're complaining about something so small, like Yankees fans showing some respect to the Mets, or people in general, not just Yankee fans, but people in general were calling out the TBS broadcast. It was bad. But Michael Kay's got to run and defend people, but when someone tries to counter argue him, he doesn't want to hear it. So Michael Kay, I'm glad I don't have to listen to him anymore for the rest of the season. It's been brutal. He's really turning into the old man yelling at a cloud. And he's got to stop because there's a lot of people that respect him. But I think after that wild card series where people were calling him out for that missed call at home plate where he bobbled the guy's name for like 5 seconds, it was a terrible call. He's been like tenfold. He's turned it all up to 11 with his complaining and he's been insufferable. Michael Kay's got to take the Aaron Hicks Award because ever since the season ended, this guy cannot shut his mouth.
Salute, Uncle Tats. I agree with that. Man, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's spot on. It's hard to follow that, but no, it was Costas for me. And actually, I'm going to say the broadcast overall because Darling was no better. You know, because the first game you could see Darling was trying to get a little spark and a little emotion into it, but Costa was the lead voice, and he was broadcasting his way, and he's got a very respectful career. No, I'm not taking anything away from any of his accomplishments, but baseball is not a Bob Costas sport to call because he has no emotion to anything, and when people say baseball is boring, that's because they're listening to Bob Costas call baseball because it was a snooze fest. And it was really hard to listen to. There was no. I should have just muted it and put on, John Sterling, because at least at the end of the game you're gonna get emotion. You're gonna hear somebody, whether the Yankees win or lose, is going to call it properly, rather than all right, game over. See you tomorrow. Like the fans of playoff teams deserve better because the broadcast throughout the series is just as bad. It's not even just the Yankees broadcast. It's oh God. I just you want to bring a little life into baseball. This playoff series, to Ross' point with the Mets and the Phillies, that was a fun series to watch. The Dodgers Padres has been a fun series to watch. But and even the Yankee series was fun to watch. Kansas, Detroit, and Cleveland are going to Game 5, and you have these boring ass broadcasts. They have to do better. I think that they should at least have one broadcaster from the home teams or the teams that are involved, because at least they're familiar with the players' names, and at least that they have something at stake as the game is progressing. These guys don't, and it just made it for a very boring broadcast.
My Aaron Hicks Award is TBS, and in particular, Bob Costas. I don't think there's too much of a doubt about it. But to Rob's point, I've never known an announcer for a team that hates the fan base of that team as much as Michael Kay does the Yankees, because all Michael Kay does nowadays is trash Yankee fans, and I've never seen anything quite like it. Now, I have issues with some Yankee fans, as I've already did at the start of this episode, going after ones that are hating on Stanton. But in general, the Yankee fan base, for the most part, and we're very blessed to be part of it, are very knowledgeable and passionate, and they know their shit. So Michael Kay just trashes them all the time and disrespects them and calls them mouth breathers and calls them this, that, and the other thing. I'm surprised he's not been censored for that by the Yes Network, because it's kind of unacceptable and it's a little bit insulting. Don LaGreca had exactly the right point. Bob Costas is a legend, but he's not a legend as a play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. He's maybe a legendary broadcaster. I mean, I can't say I'm a big fan of him, but I can see why people like him. But I don't like his play-by-play, and that's the issue. And his play-by-play was the issue because his play-by-play was objectively horrible. Let's be honest. He missed calls all the way through the series. He missed calls when he said that Anthony Volpe's incredible diving play, was actually a base hit to center field, but he actually made the play, and Ron Darling had to correct him. That's a missed call. What, we're not allowed to critique that? These mouth breathers over here aren't allowed to critique the fact that someone is actually paid to be a play-by-play guy missed the play-by-play, and that's on him. So we're not allowed to critique that because he's a legend. He's not been a legend in a while, man. And he spent the entire series going on about George Brett. Now, if George Brett was Babe Ruth,
Okay.
maybe. But even then, I've never known any Yankee announcer to go on about Babe Ruth every single episode of every single series of every single game. So why the fuck is Bob Costas going on about George Brett all the time? It was like they're like buddies. Are they going to go to the Hamptons together? Are they going to what the fuck? Are they going for dinner? Like, why did he spend the entire broadcast, every single game, talking about George Brett? And then they had an interview of him. And then after the interview with George Brett, he was still going on about George Brett. I mean, Ron Darling was the only one that was talking about the game. And Bob Costas was going on about things that happened in 1862. And I was like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Dude, and I'm not even being hyperbolic. He was talking about Burgess Meredith as the Penguin in the 1960s Batman. That's what he was talking about. Well, I'm still getting my head around how Danny DeVito was the Penguin in 1992. I remember Bob Meredith back in the Penguin in 1960. Who cares? This is the Yankees and the Royals. It's not about the Penguin. Good series, by the way. Check it out. But, I mean, honestly, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are we talking about here? Why are you talking about the Penguin? Why are you talking about fucking George Brett? And also, he pissed on the Yankees all the goddamn time. It was like he was trying to euthanize Giancarlo Stanton. After he helped us win a game, as they were leaving the field, he was like, and Stanton, he can't run, he can't field, he's old, the game's passed him by, he can't move anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like the key of the series, and all he's doing is just crashing the guy. Like, we're not allowed to critique that as fans, these mouth breathers over here. We're not allowed to critique that. Bob Costas was terrible. I mean, he obviously hates Giancarlo Stanton for whatever reason, whatever Stanton did to him. And he generally just detests baseball from the sounds of it because he's not interested in calling the game ahead of him. He's calling things about what happened in 1962 to try and make him sound like he's this knowledge, this bastion of knowledge. Dude, if it was 60 Minutes with Bob Costas, right, and he was talking about the history of the game and the histories of the 1960s Batman, fine. That's fine. That's his show. But it's the broadcast of the Royals and the Yankees. All you need to be talking about is the Royals and the Yankees. That's all you need to be talking about. It's as simple as that. If you want a show where you can show everyone off how freaking phenomenal your history of entertainment and the history of America and the history of sports is, fine, have your own segment, have your own show. But if you're the fucking commentator of the Yankees and the Royals, all you need to do is commentate on the game in front of you. And that's my problem with broadcasts these days. It's almost designed that they don't think the fans actually want to watch the game that's in front of them. Because all we end up doing is we interview all players all the game long, ex-players, current players, and it's so distracting. Like, why can't we just comment on the game in front of us? We're so blessed that this playoff series has been fantastic. Every single playoff series has been great. And salute to the Mets. I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for them because they were down and out to start the year. And then they've just gone on a great run. They're having a great playoff run. And now Michael K's going after us for some of us just going, you know what? Salute to them. They're doing pretty well. I still hate them, but congratulations.
They gave us entertaining baseball.
As a baseball fan. Same with the Padres and the Dodgers. Same with the all these teams, Guardians, the Tigers. Salute to all of them. This is a great series. So anyway, back to TBS. Another thing, their coverage was awful. The cams were terrible. The director was awful, and it was just a really bad freaking broadcast. We didn't know which ones were scoring. We didn't know who was on where and when because nobody was talking about the game. It was a really objectively terrible series, and that is why that is the Aaron Hicks Award. I've never seen a worse series called. And you know what I did? I ended up muting it, and not just because I was calling two games with Alex and Luca, but also there was another game where I actually just muted it and had John Sterling on the radio. I just put John Sterling on. It was much better. And also, they muted the fan base. I don't know why they were muting the crowd. Like, why would you mute the crowd? That's so stupid. So, as Egyptian said, the crowd was muted. It was so bad. It was so freaking bad, man. So, anyway, that's rant over.
No, it's right. You know, there's not one bad point yet. And everybody in the chat, you guys are spot on too. It really was just that bad. You know, but in regards with getting on us for, you know, it didn't matter with the Mets and, you know, rooting for that. We're not rooting for them. Like I said, I'm not rooting for any specific team that's not the Yankees. I'm rooting for good baseball. And if I'm getting a good baseball game, I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to relish. I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to talk about it. It doesn't mean I'm not a Yankee fan. It doesn't mean that I'm rooting for some other team. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's just you're ranting for attention.
I'm not going to defend myself, but the panel can defend me if you guys want. CC's comment here.
Oh, we all celebrated it. We absolutely did. It's just
No,
at
we
the end,
did.
there were two awards that we had to give out L's for and bad takes for, and it was K and TBS. They had the worst takes of all, so we spent the end of the show ripping them apart. But we celebrated. Don't make no mistake about it.
Yep. I know Mr. Barris wants to know who we want to play in the LCS. Whoever we get.
Yep. Don't care.
We are not playing that game this year. I know I'm not. If Rob and Donald want to comment, that's on them. But I am not going. I want this team or I want that team. We'll play who we get, and we'll go game by game from there.
I am worried about facing Tariq Skubal multiple times in a series, though. If I was being honest, so.
Well, that's the gift from Cleveland for winning last night. Otherwise, we'd have them games 1, 3, and 7.
Holy shit! Yeah, so I mean that's a gift right there. I don't really mind, but we do have a very good record against the Guardians in general. I think not so much against the Tigers. The Tigers have sometimes taken us by surprise a little bit, so I'm not sure. And they've also got the best pitcher in the American League. So I guess if you're asking me, like, gun to my head, I'd probably say I'd prefer the Guardians to win, but I don't want to say it because it usually comes back to bite me in the ass. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a tough series, whoever we play. But maybe the Tariq Skubal effect. That's it. But what would you guys say? Is there, if you gun to your head, who would you prefer?
I guess based off of record against a certain team, Cleveland. But Cleveland can single us to death, so I don't want to say I'd prefer this team because
that's why I don't want to play that game.
Yeah, they're both gritty, and that's the kind of team that can tear us apart. Are those gritty, tough to get out teams? Which is why I was surprised we held the Royals down the way we did, because they're the exact same way. The entire Central, really, except for Chicago, is that kind of team.
But, just to close off, I do want to spend a very quick 30 seconds complimenting the Kansas City Royals. I think they've got a really good team. I think they've got a really good organization. I really respect their starting pitchers. I think they've got really good starters. I think Walker's changeup is electric. You know what? I think they've got 3 quality starters. Their bullpen has some good arms there, and they've got a good batting lineup. They're kind of a team like death by a million cuts, where they just get a lot of base hits and then they put pressure on you. They just need, for me, and if they were to go in the offseason in the market, maybe get another relief arm and then get another power bat to lengthen the lineup. And I think they would be a legit force moving forward. But I have a lot of respect for their fans. I think that it's a good fan base, and I think they played a hell of a series. and it was certainly one of the teams I didn't want to face because they played the game the right way. So I just want to take that opportunity to give them praise.
Yep. And let's also remember 3 of the teams from the Central made the postseason. As much as we get on and we tease the AL Central as the weaker division in baseball, well, they still have 3 teams in it. So I don't think any of these teams are a fluke. I think everybody, when the games mattered, these players rallied together and they put together some good baseball. So I don't take any of these teams for granted. I really don't. And I think that what makes each team is, yet with Cleveland, you have the history of them. They usually figure out how to pull things off and play hard in the postseason. And the Tigers are playing without any expectations. That's their most dangerous team. Because it's almost like with the Yankees in 17. We didn't know it was coming, so it was all right. It was just a sign of things to come. So I don't. That's why I can't go one team over another. I think that's when it gets dangerous. Oh, and the big reason why the Yankees were able to finish it off in 4 was like what Egyptians said with Bobby Witt. He's a 40-homer dude, but they took him out of the equation. Just like they just like the Judge out of the equation.
They also made Sally Perez, who's been a Yankee killer.
I was just going to say with him and Perez,
because I love Sally Perez. He's actually one of my favorite players in the league, and the Yankees did such a great job shutting him down. So a lot of credit to Aaron Boone and the way that they managed the series. Shutting down their 2 biggest threats like that was the key.
Rob, your final thought.
Hey, let's enjoy this and let's get ready for Monday night.
All right. And with that is going to wrap things up for us today. Do hope everybody does enjoy the weekend. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family. This changes on the corner. This has been the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. And as we say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.